Oh, just listen to that music. Just that music. So I'm a little torn on how I start these videos or how I should. So I'm just gonna load into the mission. I'm gonna read over the points that I'd like to say, so this video can stay like in a consistent line with the others and
Urgent
etc.
transmission incoming on all channels. From the speaker.
Nothing is more important now. We believe the Hive are engaged in a ritual that is draining the Traveler of its light. Whatever power they wield must be understood and destroyed.
This ritual could be happening in any one of their thousands of chambers. If we can find cracks deep enough, I can map the entire Hive fortress.
So I don't know if I've made several recordings, so if I end up repeating some of this stuff, you know, do keep in mind I have not watched the original 3 videos back, or 4? I don't know. Anywho, I kind of wanted to touch up on the brief history of Destiny,
Okay, good scan, but
which
not
is
enough to locate the ritual yet. Let's keep
how
looking.
much actually went on during its release and during the first, like, I guess, year. So I'm not gonna be touching up on a whole lot. It's just kind of basic information that I remember. Some of it is researched. Again, I had to look back. Had to look up what I remembered, etc. And I kind of just wanted to start with the fact that Destiny was such a weird game at its first beta that when the full game came out, like, the concept wasn't really changed, but it was more like, I guess the power system, how perks, like, how all of that worked was changed. But I always confused, like, the beta with the alpha because I had watched people
But we have to
play
go
the
deeper into the
alpha
Temple of Crota.
of Destiny 1, so like they got the whole playtest, etc., and there wasn't a lot to it. But when I played the game, it was a lot different. The beta was the first experience I had with this game. I always thought it was in June. It happened in July, I guess. And that happening in July really kind of skewed my dates for everything. But essentially, the way I first remembered the game and why I thought it was weird whenever I played the demo compared to the beta was defense. Defense and gear score were the 2 main things that were light, essentially, like what would become light levels. So whenever I played it, I was focusing on, like, okay, so if I put this on, my defense is higher, my gear score is lower. It was like a true, like, kind of like an RPG sandbox in a sense, which, as we can see now, it is less of an RPG sandbox and more of a RPG-esque sandbox game. And when I say RPG-esque, I mean you can get random rolls on guns, there's currency, there's
Someone's trying
vendors,
to
there's
establish
different
contact.
gear, there's
Could be the
different,
speaker.
you know, exotic items that do different specific things that are really good.
Let's get out in the
Compared
open.
to how it
I'll
was
have a better
before, where it
chance
was
of
just,
locking the
oh,
signal.
random roll, you get like you get a gear score, and you want to push those numbers up while also kind of min-maxing ish, but it wasn't really min-maxing. Now it's min-maxing. This base game is min-maxing. Hold on, cutscene.
You're interesting. Not entirely interesting, but you have promise.
Who is that?
I don't know. I'm losing the signal.
Guardian, I know what you're about to do. It's brave. But there are enemies out here you would not believe.
Out where?
Go down and face the Hive. And if you live, come find me.
Signal dropped. I got some broken coordinates. Venus, Northern Hemisphere. Ishtar region. Great. What do we do now?
We go down.
Okay, my apologies for I skipped around a couple missions. I tried to record it, didn't end up knowing what I wanted to do. Didn't really have a concept, was just kind of rambling. So, yeah. We skipped past a couple of missions. They were also either really long or really short. So we're talking like 20 minutes, and I just didn't know how long it was going to be, so I couldn't gauge what I'm going to talk about. Can't punch him through the thing. So you can punch him. But with Destiny 1 and its beta, I remember it gave you free Xbox Live, you know, all this other cool stuff. So they really wanted to ingrain like a community experience. And then PlayStation, you know, Sony, Bungie was already working with them. They were already doing all this stuff. And to be fair, a lot of stuff went wrong because they just, like, I feel like they didn't really listen to the community or have a general sense of direction. But they knew what they wanted from the community, which was like, oh my god, I just killed myself. I just killed myself. They wanted just memories, like people to look at this game, have fun, and say, okay, I could cop on this for like day after day. But the biggest problem with early Destiny, and you know, it's kind of obvious in the vanilla game, like just the vanilla campaign, the base, everything. Like you can see, like there are a lot of problems, and that mainly has to do with gear leveling being an issue for the first like 20 levels until you get to House of Wolves. And that was because they updated the Reef. They gave us, what was it? They gave us House of Judgment, whatever. Right, they gave us all that cool stuff. All that cool stuff. You could rerun it. And then it got updated with each, you know, new DLC expansion, etc. But for the first two expansions, it only went up 5 levels each expansion. And it nearly killed the game. Because there was not a lot to grind for. Like, you know, Dark Willow, you had a raid that came out, right? That was cool and all, but I don't really remember there being a lot other than like the raid. There was not a lot of new gear. Maybe like 10 different things total compared to the base game, which already had like 80 pieces of gear, and that's including common, uncommon. Like uncommon and commons are pretty much the same guns. Same model, same everything. So you can only imagine like, oh, Dark Below came out, well this is expansion territory, so obviously it's gotta be better. No, you gotta, like, if you're new to any of this, or like you remember how like early 2010 games were expansions, it was never a whole lot. Take COD for instance, right? They didn't start adding like guns until, I don't know, like 2012, whenever that's like, not that. What am I talking about? Whatever, Black Ops 2 came out. And that was the first time they had guns, and it was one gun per expansion. Now they're adding a bunch for like actual fucking content drop, and it's free now. You just have to pay for a battle pass and grind out. Right? Concept, model, everything was completely different. You paid for game content. You got a couple new things. Very lackluster. Now, the Dark Below didn't really offer much in terms of anything, even with guns. Story, not that interesting. I think it was like 8 missions, maybe less. And even that, it was just setting it up for like the raid. I'm fairly certain. So not only was it setting it up for a raid that wouldn't be playable for another 2 weeks after release because of the light level system, and the fact that there was like no way to grind it except for doing strikes or PvP or, you know, farming Cosmodromes for like the loot caves. And he took that away. So again, looking back at these DLCs for how they look now and how everybody remembers them, it's definitely way different and way less, I guess, way less shrouded in fatigue when you come back to it, because for one, we're no longer in that time period. We're looking at the downfall of Destiny 2 right now. Right, we're looking at the cutoff of all the content that culminated towards that era, from that era, and just like made it to where it is now. Like a big, what was once seen as a juggernaut has fallen, right? And with that comes a look back, as I'm doing now, with the Dark Below, saying it's not as shrouded in like fatigue from not having anything to do, there being other games with like, you know, more content, but again, we're talking about a time where there was not a lot to do, so all of this content is kind of lackluster. Then you get House of Wolves, introduces weekly bounties, it introduces, I think, the Reef again as a playable area, and it was a free update, but you couldn't do anything with the vendors unless you had the DLC. So again, very like, oh, pay for the DLC, you get everything new, and you can play with your friends again. Kind of predatory, but at the time it was seen as commonplace because, for one, what else are you gonna do? Right? You're gonna give everybody literally every single thing imaginable on a silver platter and expect them to, like, expect the top % of people to not, like, grind it out and get literally everything within the first 2 weeks? No. That's how you kill the game. But it hyped up the release of what I consider and what many people consider to be one of the best DLCs of the game, which I'll go more in depth as to how like House of Wolves and, you know, all that good stuff affected the game a lot more, because those were definitely, I remember people saying the game wasn't gonna last after that, or it wasn't gonna be sustainable, or this and that. People were complaining already, saying we need new content, this, we need new content, that, and they listened to the community at first. I don't know when they stopped, but they did.
What is this thing?
And in the lead up to 2015's Taken King release, I remember that was like the biggest moment of like
They were using it
Destiny
against the
history,
Traveler,
just because
devouring its
everybody
light.
was saying, oh my god, this is gonna be
You
crazy.
freed it.
Level 40,
Your friend
10
said
more
there are
levels,
enemies on
new
Venus worse than
subclass
this.
potentially,
Great.
whole new exotics, brand new like this and that and the third, right? And looking back, I realized I was a dumb child, a dumb little baby, because I was 9. I was 9. I didn't turn 10 until Taken King release. You know, and no, I didn't turn 10 until before Taken King release. So before it released, I was 10. I was getting a better understanding of like what I was dealing with, what the game was, all that. And when watching the videos back then, like, it's hard to find the content now because for some reason it's just like overshadowed by large amounts of Destiny 2 content. Can't help it. You know, that's just how it be. That's just how it be. That's just what I do. But looking back at all the content, all the videos I've watched, everybody's kind of bad at the game, right? It's more so, oh my god, I'm having fun. I'm in, like Mr. Fruit, right? I remember watching his shit, the Iron Banner bets. We're talking like community seemed to be the only thing this game had, right? I never, like, as a kid, I didn't really understand, oh, why you just go play a single player game? Why would I want to play this? And then I started seeing like everybody interact with each other. People in the tower are like teabagging. We're all doing, like, we're showing each other glitches. We're doing this and that. It's a fun game to play. However, endgame content has never really been the biggest strong suit for Destiny, nor has vanilla content, right? You really gotta wait to get to like the midpoint of like, okay, game's dying, backs against the wall, support from the community, you know, we gotta push this deadline out. And then you can see it in Destiny 1 too. It's not like they lost the spark with Destiny 2. It's more so it was always in front of us, right? It was always there. It was always going to happen, right? We were just delaying the inevitable. And the reason why is because the team is kind of incompetent, right? As you can see with House of Wolves, you know, Dark Below again, lackluster DLCs. I hate to be that guy, but having a raid as your only selling point is kind of a letdown because that means everything else is horrible.
Yes,
Well, not horrible, but not
yes.
good, right?
Very good.
And
Your
when you
actions
look at House of Wolves and how that did, who cares about a weekly bounty? The reef and the judgment, you know, doing all that, that's super fun, but it's super long. It's like an hour long. And maybe back then when our dopamine wasn't destroyed by fast-paced gunplay like Apex or like spamming abilities and like just neurons are firing to the point that whenever you hop off the game, you deadass have to stare at a wall for like a solid 15 minutes because you just burned your brain out. What the fuck is this? I'm over leveled. I'm over leveled. I might need to scale it back. I forget. This is the reason that all of that old content felt a lot longer and lackluster because look at that. There's not a lot to do. Like you can see the arms requisition is level 9. You know what I mean? I'm not really here to bitch or complain or do anything. I'm just expressing the emotional value that this game has had on me. Look at the art design. Right, they kept it somewhat the same for Destiny 2, right? I think he just moved to the right or left of the tower. Honestly, I kind of don't understand why they made the main hub area much smaller than this. Like, I guess I'd understand, like, oh, war's happening again, we need to be compact, we need to make sure everybody lives, but like, they removed the farm as a visitable destination, right? So you go from this Destiny 1 to Destiny 2. Oh my God, they're destroying it! No, no. And then there's like only 3 of these stuck to a wall. It's very minimal, right? Again, it's always been there from the start of this game to literally Rise of Iron. Rise of Iron was a better DLC than the first 2, but it's just below Taken King, and that's because the story is short and sweet, which is cool and all, but it was literally the final send-off of the game. You know, like they knew this is it, this is the last DLC, we're releasing for the game, we're not doing a whole lot more. We're just kind of like winging it, you know? And in winging it, they kind of cooked it a little bit, right? Because in terms of like content, like ships, sparrows, sure, you can say that it's never been better in Destiny 2. But the problem is, in Destiny 1, all of the content is the same. All of it is the same. A lot of it has no place in modern day gaming because it is literally just recolors with maybe a literal line.
Listen to this from an old warlock, Osiris.
Explain that.
Every end crawls from the same pit, rising from the schism to swallow matter, light, and life. It will not be stopped, but here it can be slowed. The shrines of Oryx must be destroyed.
Like right there, I was just showing off all of the different ships. The ships are cool. They're a little bit different. But again, it's copy paste.
There is a shrine
right?
here, but it's further in the Hellmouth than anywhere we've been. We should destroy it before it's too late.
And so this will be like probably the end of the video, and then I'll play through the campaign a little bit more. You know, do all this other stuff. and I'll start recording whenever I get back to Venus. Whenever I get on Venus. But right now, as I'm wrapping up my points, I just kind of wanted to be known that yes, the flaws were always visible. Yes, the community's known. But from people who, like, for people who are new to Destiny and their starting point was Destiny 2, like, very little room to talk about, like, oh, well, they're just bad at making the game, or like this and that. And that's just because, like, you didn't experience the Destiny 1 days of, like, watching Datto or Mr. Fruit fail at the world's first raid, or, you know, any of this other stuff, like the OG Rick Cactus
They're
Day,
invading the Hellmouth?
you know. And to that I say, yes, it's always been kind of a bad game, but it's been really good too. Like, it's had a lot more high points than it has, like, low, right? But I think as of late, the low points overshadowed because, for one, we're talking about like a 12-year-old game franchise, right? We're talking about seeing games that are like, we're going from like games like Fortnite having like a long 3-year peak, and then literally everybody who was playing it that was kind of like an adult, you know, like every single older person was saying, you know, this isn't sustainable. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's a miracle that they're keeping it up, which is, it can be said for Destiny. It's a miracle that they kept it up. Oh my god, I read it. It's a miracle that they kept it up for as long as they did, because for one, how is anybody playing? I don't think anybody was planning on this working. I think everybody was just like, oh, it's working. We know it would work because we have a good team, but we don't know how to sustain it. You know, and that's the sad part, really, because if they figured out their model better and they really hammered in on like community feedback of like, hey, we don't like this as much, could you do
If I
this?
translated these
Instead of
fallen
just
comms
like saying,
correctly,
alright, well
one of
fuck
their
it, we just
barons
can't
is
listen to anyone.
Here. They
And
don't
just
crawl out of
giving
their
up.
skiffs too often.
And then
Sounds
saying,
like an
alright, we were wrong, sorry guys, sorry. Like, it would have been so much better than just what it is now.
One less baron to worry about.
And I know I'm kind of straying from my path, and I'm saying a lot of the same, like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Words, jargon. But my point stands that more direction, the direction from Activision was not a bad thing, right? Soft launch 2, like, filler courses, and then have a main meal, so that way the filler courses can be like, you can go back to them, you can explore them a bit more with the new content, and they update it a little bit as they go. Now, Destiny 1 being the building block of that, I think may have been the greatest challenge of all time, because how do you go from Destiny 1, right, to Destiny 2? Because they had a clearer direction of like, oh, look at the night, look at this. They cut down the models, right? Like, Destiny 2 models don't have the horns. They don't have like the difference to stand out. They're just kind of more round. They're a bit weird looking. Like, they look similar, but they've lost character. See where I'm going? See where I'm going? Them losing character was not just for the models. It was for a lot more than that. And that's the depressing part. Losing your character in a sea of creativeness is kind of unreal. You know, how do you do that?
These
But
are just as crazy as we are.
growing standards, you know? That's what we'll call them. Now, I'm gonna end this video off with a hopeful statement saying, I hope Marathon works. It seems really fun. But again, I'm just a Destiny player. I'm the average Destiny player, in fact, who mainly grinded PvP too much. Got a little decent at it. I was horrible at PvE. Yeah. If Marathon succeeds, maybe we'll see Bungie actually. Nah. Destiny's over. Destiny's over. I think I've come to terms with that. Destiny's over, and this era has come to a close. But well, it's over. Let's appreciate all of this. You know, let's appreciate what it had to offer, what it gave us, and what Marathon will hopefully continue to give us, rather than dying and just, you know, kind of being a fetus that was thrown onto the floor and said, oh, wasn't durable enough. That's what it's starting to feel like. It's starting to feel like they still have no direction. But, you know, their art style, their story design, it still pulls through. So, as long as they can focus the community experience on Marathon and shift it from Destiny, maybe they can capitalize on some players coming from Destiny to Marathon.
There's the shrine.
Never know.
Find a way through.
Arc Raiders players stop playing Arc Raiders for Marathon. Tried it out for like a week or two, and now it's at like, what, 10k average players? Not horrible. Obviously, it's a new game. You're gonna have some growing pains, but again, Destiny needs, Bungie as a company needs to figure this shit out before this just ends up in the gutter. Alright. I think that's about it. Oh, and watch the Vidocs back, man. It's so funny. It's so funny. Peace.